Hello, dear friends. Hello, dear guests. We are ready to start our session. Sharing is caring, sharing economy perspectives of transportation sharing services and what impact it has on the urban environment. My name is Dmitry Zavyalov, and I'm head of the chair at Entrepreneurship and Logistics at Plekhanov University. We will start our discussion with platform and sharing economy. We all know that it became a part of our everyday life. This is what we see every day. We see that sharing services had huge impact on urban environment, on the cities. The sharing services become more and more popular. Think about the following. Over the last 6 years, there were 130 million drives by shared cars. In addition to that, there are shared bikes, electric scooters, and many more. Sharing platforms open a huge new sphere which allows to manage and construct urban environment to improve mobility of the citizens. And this is what we are going to talk about with our guests today. Let me introduce our participants. So, Valentino Savina, engineer, mobility planning area director at AAMAD, Environment, Mobility and Territory Agency of the city of Milan. Can you hear us?
Yeah, very well.
I hope we will not have any problems with the connection. Magomed Kolgaev, head of sharing projects at Moscow Department of Transport and Road Infrastructure Development. Hello. Yevgeny Tatarnikov from VTB Leasing, commercial director. Sam Zeit is also with us online, founder and executive chairman of Get Around. Sam, it's great to have you with us. Loriana Sardar, co-founder and managing partner, Belka Car. Hello. Hello. And we're waiting for other participants who will join us a little bit later. Let us start. I believe that the topic is truly interesting. Our biggest enemy today is time. We are going to stick to the time frame, and if something goes wrong, I will give you a sign that you have to finish your presentation. Let me introduce the first speaker, Valentino Savina.
Okay, good morning good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for the invitation at the Moscow Urban Forum.
Yeah, it's great to have you here with us today. Perhaps the most famous urban development of the lockdown times are the countless pop-up bike lines that appeared in many European cities. And I think that Milan is one of the greatest examples here, because you transformed 35 kilometers of the central city streets into bike lines, and you are promoting and encouraging cycling, micromobility, pedestrian traffic. I think this Strada Aperta project is really a great one. So, and as far as I know, you are planning to launch a specific digital platform combining together 17 different operators of city mobility services. So tell us, please, how Milan is working with mobility services, which approaches and instruments are the most effective ones, how you are creating effective, sustainable and safe urban mobility environment.
Okay, I'm starting my presentation. 1 second. Okay. Okay, perfect. So when I'm speaking about the sharing mobility, I usually start with the SUMP, the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan of the City of Milan. The Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan, as you can see, is based on 4 pillars: sustainable mobility, equity, security and social cohesion, environmental quality, and innovation and economic efficiency. The most important goal of our sustainable urban mobility plan are the motorization rate reduction, the congestion reduction, and the CO2 reduction. One of the most important goal in relation to one of the most important instrument in sense of the reduction of the mobility rate is the sharing mobility. As you can see, we started in 2010 with more than of 700,000 cars in our city, and last year we arrived at 780,000 cars. So we had a very important reduction in terms of mobility rate. Last year the mobility rate was 49 cars each 100 inhabitants, and in our sustainable mobility plan the goal is to achieve 46 cars each 100 inhabitants. In this slide, you can see the history of our sharing mobility. We started very far in 2004 with a pilot project in relation to the car sharing, and after in 2008 we started with bike sharing, the station-based bike sharing, but the revolution in relation to the sharing mobility was in 2013 when the city of Milan decided to open the market to the private mobility provider. And since this specific moment was an explosion in relation to the different system, different company, and in relation to start with the change of the behavior for the citizen in terms of use the different mobility service. In this slide, you have the use of the different sharing mobility systems we have in our city since March 2020, when the city of Milan was in lockdown. We started the lockdown the 9th of March 2020, and we finished the first lockdown in May 2020. And in this slide you have the reduction of the use, the different mobility sharing service we have in Milan. For instance, the car sharing reduction in April 2020 was minus 92% of the normal use in 2019. After we had a different start of the service, and in September 2020 the situation was more or less normal in terms of the use of the service and in terms of the service of the city. But after, in October, we come back in a second lockdown for the second wave of the pandemic situation. In May 2020, in order to support the public transport, because the public transport was limited for the social distance, was limited at 50% of his maximum capacity, and in order to support the public transport, the strategic measure policy was sharing mobility and bike lane. We started with the project. Called the Strade Aperte, where you can see the bike lane we create with the Strade Aperte. The first goal of Strade Aperte was 35 kilometers, but at the end we arrived to develop 67 kilometers of bike lane in our city, And in this slide, you have the picture of the most important commercial street, Corso Buenos Aires, before and after with the bike lane we create thanks to the Strade Aperte project. And the result in relation to the Strade Aperte project is very interesting for the city, because we increase the modal share, the modal split of the travel along Corso Buenos Aires is more or less 20% in favor of the bike system. But the sharing mobility in our city is composed by car sharing. We have more or less 30,000 cars. 44% of those cars are totally electric. We have 50,000 bikes. 23 of those bikes are electric. After we have 4,500 scooters, 100% electric, and 5,250 kick scooters in service in our city. In this slide, you can see the use of the sharing mobility. For instance, for the car sharing, we have more or less 9,000 daily rental for the car sharing, and during the last year is totally changed the use of the car sharing, because increase the number of kilometers traveled by the car sharing. Now we have 11 kilometers run by car sharing. Before was on average 4 or 5 kilometers for 20 minutes, and now we have 86 minutes average rental for the car sharing. After we have the number in relation to the use of the bike sharing. We have, in relation to the bike sharing, we have 14,000 daily rental for 1.5 kilometer on average, and 18 minutes on average for the use of the bike sharing. And in relation to the scooter sharing, we have 3 kilometer average for 12 minutes. And for the kick scooter, we have 1.5 kilometer of on average, and 12 minutes of use on average. The city of Milan started with Amat, is a company 100% owned by the city of Milan, and I'm the director of the mobility department. And we dedicated part of our time in order to monitoring all the system, or all the mobility system, in order to give to the city of Milan all the data in relation to the use of all the mobility system in Milan. We started with Area B and Area C. Area B and Area C are two big limited traffic zones. Area C is the limited traffic zone, the congestion charge area we have in Milan. And Area C is located in the very inner part of our city, and is the schema is the congestion charge. After we have Area B, is the largest limited traffic zone, more or less 75% of the territory in our city. But the rule of Area B is in relation to the pollution, is a low emission zone, so is possible to enter inside Area B if the pollution rule, the pollution aspect of your car is compliance with the rule of Area B. After every day, we send those data to our policymaker, and we give the congestion index of the street, the on-street parking use, the interchange parking use, the metro passenger, the car sharing use, bike sharing, and so on. In those slides, you can see some example of data we send every day to the policymaker. In blue, you can see the average use of the underground network. This is the chart in relation to the underground network. In blue, you can see the use on average in 2019. In blue broken line, you can see the average use of the public transport in June 2019. In yellow is the situation the day, for instance, Monday 14 June, and in black broke line is the average use during the lockdown for the public transport. This is the situation for the public transport, for instance. This is the situation in relation to the congestion index in our city. This is the number of access inside the limited traffic zone area B. This is the number of access inside the limited traffic zone area C, the congestion charge. This is the use of the car sharing. In this moment in June, the situation was more or less 50% of average in relation to the use in 2019. This is the use of the bike sharing. This is the use in relation to the scooter sharing. And this is the use of the kick scooter. The use of the kick scooter is important to inform you that the situation we show in green is compared to the situation we had in January and in February 2020, so when the kick scooter was at the beginner. So the comparison is limited, but the use of the kick scooter in this specific moment is very important in our city, and we are working in order to avoid some specific problem in relation to the use of the kick scooter. After we have the situation in relation to the use of the on-street parking areas, and we monitoring the use of the interchange parking we have at the boundary of the city of Milan. This is my last slide, and in conclusion, starting from this specific monitoring system, as you mentioned before during your introduction, we started to monitoring the service, the sharing service, with a specific platform. We are testing this specific platform under the European project financed by Urban Mobility, and the goal is to develop, to test and develop a specific monitoring system with this platform, and this platform gives us the possibility to compare the use of the car sharing day by day, minute by minute, online directly, compare the use of the sharing mobility in relation to the rule imposed by the city of Milan. In this specific moment, we are working to integrate all by API, all the shared mobility system. Now we are more or less at 70% of the mobility system already integrated in our platform, and the goal is to arrive at the end of this year with 100% of the mobility service integrated in our platform. Thanks to this specific project, we are working on the parallel in artificial intelligence for the city of Milan, in order to monitoring all the mobility system with all the service we have in our city in order to give to the policymaker day by day, minute by minute, exactly the problem and the situation we have in our city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Valentino, for those insights.
Dear friends, Valentina has shared with us Milano's experience. I think it's high time to discuss Moscow's experience. We have a special sharing project. We see how actively sharing business has been developing. Moscow is in the lead here. We see that car sharing, bike sharing, push bike sharing, 125,000 trips every day in car sharing. Bikes, push bikes, separate story. All these measures are great alternative options to personal vehicles. We are decongesting the road network. What are the prospects? What's the future? What does the future hold for these services? And when can we see fully fledged mass applications that would combine all these services? Thank you. Good afternoon to your colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me, that you could, in this difficult time, to find a format enabling all of us to meet and share experiences, because we should keep on moving. I would like to thank Valentina, the previous speaker. He has been working with us closely for many years. And car sharing, actually the first glimpse of car sharing we had in Milano. I was at the crossroad whether I should focus on statistics or on the positive effects of car sharing. So I tried to merge both points. I split it into two blocks. The performance indicators, the number of trips in car sharing, number of registrations, addressed transport challenges. Second, infrastructural aspects, things we have in place in order to make car sharing run smoothly. So 45 million trips in car sharing, 2 million push bikes, 5 million trips, bike trips. Since the launch of the service, 170 million trips have been made altogether. 90% of trips are transport trips, meaning that when people resolve their transport needs, they do not use their personal cars, so they use shared services, allowing to use one vehicle several times a day. The median is 6-7 trips a day across all types of vehicles. Car sharing has been developing very dynamically. However, in 2020, since the car sharing business was suspended, we saw a slump. There were fewer trips. Most of the time people spent at home, and the operators suffered some losses. In order to offset those losses, we offered more favorable parking terms. Now there are 26,000 shared cars in Moscow. I'll tell you a bit later about our plans for the future. More than half of car sharing users made a decision to abandon personal cars, discontinue using personal cars because of the car sharing services. Most of the people do have personal cars, but they don't use it as often as before. Here you can see a thermal map, brief shared car trips, less than 5 kilometers in distance, specific to the areas where the ground transport is not as developed, when there are no good roads. So thanks to this analytics, we can see the future development areas where we need to develop transport network. Bike sharing has been booming. It's a joint VTB project. We have clear goals, performance criteria, growth criteria. The key goal in the bike sharing business is to increase the share of transport, because e-bikes are more convenient. And we also expanded, pushed beyond the Moscow Ring Road so that more people can use this service. This is the map of our stations. They're spread out evenly, 500 meters in between, and so this is the principle we're trying to apply across the city. Push bike sharing service is the most dynamically growing segment. By July 2021, users had made more than 21 million trips, or 2.1 million trips. The previous year, 2 million trips. This segment holds huge potential because people are preferring push bikes over cars. Towards the end of the season, we expect to have 8 operators, and the push bikes fleet will increase to 25,000. Push bike trips made alone for 2 main reasons. First of all, the availability of infrastructure. Secondly, the routes used by the users, because they're close to their offices, houses. Push bike sharing service is the most actively used one because it has reported the highest growth. But there's also issues, safety issues. That's why back in 2018, some measures were made. The first steps were taken, and we are in constant touch with push bike sharing companies in order to improve safety. We have slow zones. We have certain obligations to push bikes. They need to be equipped with reusable batteries, etc. So a lot of work is being done to make trips as comfortable and safe as possible. Proposals were sent to the Ministry of Transport to change the road rules. And as much as we're allowed by laws, we are cooperating with the kick-sharing operators. I understand there's no time left, but a very pressing issue. Ruli, or Drive On, a car sharing for friends service. We launched it in May. The main idea behind it is to create a service that would make it possible to share your personal car with your friends, with people you trust. A lot of personal cars are being idle now, are not being used for the reasons I mentioned at the beginning, because people are now using other means of transport. They use public transport, underground, car sharing, push sharing, bike sharing, etc. So there's a fleet of cars, personal vehicles, that are just sitting idly on parking places. So in order to make it possible for others to use these vehicles, that's the idea. Now we are in the testing stage. The first 100 testers have been gathered. Based on their feedback, we will improve the service, we will fine-tune it, and by September we expect to launch this service, targeting all groups of residents. So the listed above services, they serve 2 aims. More sparing use of resources. I think it's true for all services. And the need for the use of new modes of transport, push bikes, bicycles, and others. Time is up. Yes, I hope we'll have some time left at the end for a brief discussion. As a follow-up to the latest point, people sharing, so to say, our next speaker, Sam Zeit, the founder of Get Around. Sam Zeit, are you with us?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm with you. Yes, I can. Hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, great. So Sam, it's great to have you here with us today. Get Around is the world's largest connected car sharing marketplace, right? The service works in 8 countries. And I actually very love this tagline that you have on your website, this become a car sharing entrepreneur. I think this is kind of inspiring, and I really wanted to ask you about how did you manage to scale your business? You work in different countries with different cultures, different legal frameworks, and car user cultures as well. What do you think about the competition? What's your place in this market? And do you think the market will grow even bigger in the nearest future?
Yeah, thank you. Those are great questions. Let me pull up my slides, and I'm happy to answer those as we go through that. So give me a second here. Okay, hopefully everybody can see my screen.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you. It's really exciting to be here. My name is Sam Zeit, and thrilled to introduce GetAround, where I'm one of the founders and executive chairman. And our mission as a company is to solve today's broken model of car ownership. You know, that is, cars are parked for 95% of each day. And this is wasteful. And as you know, as we all know, cars are designed to only be accessed by the owner who has the physical keys. As a consequence, this means we own more cars than we need. And this is actually solving this problem is precisely why we founded GetAround 10 years ago. Now, our solution to that is what we call the GetAround digital car sharing marketplace. So GetAround, like Airbnb, is a marketplace. We connect hosts who provide cars with guests who rent them. And to your point, hosts are entrepreneurs as well as individuals. And I'll talk a bit more about that, while the guests are a mainstream set of consumers where we provide them with a superior digital substitute to owning or renting a car. What makes GetAround very different and why we see expansion across 8 countries, in cities, and in suburbs is our digital experience, which is really powered by our patented and proprietary GetAround Connect Cloud platform, which is very different than most marketplaces offering car sharing. So unlike our competitors who are very analog, cars on GetAround are always connected and digitally communicating with our systems at all time. And this really allows us to transform the traditionally manual business of renting cars into fully digital and fully digital data-driven one. As you indicated, today we're in 8 countries with 850 active cities around the world with 6 million registered users, and really leading the digital transformation of car sharing, with roughly 20 times as many connected cars on our network as compared to our closest competitor. Where we're different and where we really try to make things easy so that everybody can car share and they can do it anywhere is really to allow you to use GetAround and be gone in 60 seconds. So to book a car, really all you have to do is download the GetAround app. You can sign up instantly. You then decide how long you want a car for. That can be an hour, it can be longer, it could be a few days, it could be a few weeks. So we offer a lot of flexibility. You can choose the exact car you want, and you can choose from all sorts of different cars in close proximity to where you are. You configure the level of insurance, and then your booking is confirmed instantly. All verification is done algorithmically using AI machine learning. There's no paperwork, there's no standing in lines, there's no waiting to approve anyone from downloading the app, to getting in a car. All that happens in 60 seconds, plus walking time to the car, and then you magically unlock the doors from your phone, so you don't actually have to pick up a physical key from anyone. That's for people who use the service. To your point, for hosts and for entrepreneurs, our digital offering really takes the pain out of sharing cars. We make it easy to build a business of 5, 10, 50, 100 cars, where you live, near where you live, and really become a car sharing entrepreneur. We're one of the few and perhaps the only place where an entrepreneur can virtually operate a fleet from behind their home office at their computer. They can get started without any upfront investment in people or staff, in real estate, or any front office customer operations. And that's because they don't need to meet customers, arrange for car pickups and returns, key handoffs, inspections. All of that happens digitally. And in fact, because of our digital platform, we see about 1 in 5 people who start sharing a single car progress into building a business and offering car sharing in a bigger way as an entrepreneur with multiple cars. And so our marketplace model, which is asset light, combined with our technology-driven digital model, really allows us to expand car sharing coverage. In fact, what we see, and you're looking at on the right 2 maps from Atlanta in the United States and New York in the United States, you see high booking intent. So people looking for cars, not just in the city centers, but across a very wide radius. And we actually have the ability then to activate entrepreneurs, not just in the cities, but all around the city, so that car sharing can be used essentially everywhere. And we see this is true in the United States, in Europe, but critically important is that you have these entrepreneurs and an asset-light model where they can easily operate and build a fleet of cars without having to be there in person every time, and that the model is digital, making it very easy for people to reliably get around, for everyday usage, for weekend usage, for vacation usage, and really make it a reliable and predictable service for the user.
Okay, Sam, thank you for
sharing. But what's really special...
Yeah, so,
I have one...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Should I keep going? Yeah, one really last
we don't have
too
much time. If you can, just sum up your experience. What are your expectations from the market and this market niche?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I will say one thing before I do that, which is what's really special about GetAround is what we're doing to make the world a better place, to reduce congestion and pollution, and to really offer the service not just for the wealthy and tech forward, but in the underserved, less affluent parts of cities. And the way we see this is something that's going to continue growing and powered by the marketplace and digital model, only grow faster as cars become connected and the world really moves to connected vehicles. So with that, thank you. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here and share our point of view and look forward to the ensuing discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Thank you for joining us and sharing your experience. Друзья, давайте хороший такой, мне кажется, достаточно пример.
Dear friends, I think it's a very good example. Let's get back to our Moscow experience. Evgeny, we see that a platform or shared economy is creating new niches, new industries, car sharing, taxi, micromobility, bikes, push bikes, etc. I know that leasing is at the heart of this business. You are working with numerous car sharing companies. As far as I know, you launched your own platform, a subscription-based platform for physical persons, for individuals. What's your take on the prospects of this market? Which direction is it going to move? What's going to happen to the leasing market? Thank you. I would like to thank you not only for the opportunity to participate in this forum, but to the Transport Department of the City of Moscow, which took it upon itself to promote this area, this segment, shared economy. I would like to thank the representative of the department here. To create new segments, to be a trailblazer, has always been a tough task. I think it's impossible to imagine to think of car sharing and taxi as two separate businesses, because 70% of all taxi cabs and 80% of shared cars have been operated on the financial or operating leasing terms. This tool is very popular because we have government support instruments from the Ministry of Industry and Trade, advance payments, and other support mechanisms. We've been keeping close tabs on those segments. We've been developing them. Now we have over 5,000 taxi cabs in the VTB taxi fleet. We expect to increase it to 10,000 taxi cabs this year. Yandex Taxi is our key partner. We have a service program. enabling the companies to secure most favorable terms. We are very positive about the prospects of this segment. Over the 5 months, 2021, we have leased out 5,000 cars. So now our portfolio has 300 clients, and we are planning to expand. Car sharing is a breakthrough mentality, is an alternative to personal car ownership. Colleagues have mentioned that it allows people to discontinue using their cars. People are moving away from ownership to rent, and subscription, car subscription, short-term, long-term leasing or rental is a very attractive service. We believe that for the leasing industry, we're going to see most of the trades, most of the transactions in this particular niche in the midterm perspective. This will move us closer to the Western countries. In some countries in the West, 70% of all cars, new vehicles are bought on the leasing terms. On the car sharing, true, there are two key partners nowadays. We entered this market recently because we were a bit scared, but and apprehensive, but we saw a positive experience in terms of anti-fraud activities and the legislation that have been put into place to fight fraud. And we believe that our car fleet will expand to 10,000 units in the next few years as part of the Moscow Urban Forum. VTB signed an agreement with Delimobil to acquire 15% stake in the company. So we're very bullish about the segment's perspectives. As an employee of a leasing company, as a citizen, I see all the positive effects of a shared economy. My personal feeling, and my friends, my acquaintances agree that it is much more convenient now to travel around Moscow, again, thanks to the development of public transit, as well as to the car sharing and other sharing services. And I think that these services are making a driving experience in Moscow more comfortable.
All right, Loriana, I would like to hand over to you. You are a representative of another sector of economy. We want to get news from the field. I mean, 2020 was quite hard. I mean, there was lockdown, cars were standing still, they still required maintenance and leasing payments on the one hand, but on the other hand, 2021 started quite successfully. Services become bigger. There are new services, and can you tell us how well Belka Car overcome the pandemics? Do you think that it's a part of the story, or do you think that there are some consequences of the pandemics? Do you feel them till today? So when I read your question, I decided to start my presentation with the diagram showing the dynamics of our income. So as you can see, in 2020, the second quarter of the year was very difficult. Our activity was prohibited. Car sharing as other means of public transportation and mobility became a beneficiary of post-pandemic times. It's hard to say that we live in times after the pandemics, but nevertheless we can see that the utilization of the fleet increased. Clients started to use cars more. The distance increased almost by 2 times, just like in Milano. And you were right to say that 2021 brought positive changes. Based on that, I would like to tell you about the following. During lockdown period, we, as the majority of other people of the earth, were staying at home, thinking how to live in the future. And that was how our strategy was built. Let me tell you about the strategy till 2050. The next slide, please. Thank you. Right. So we analyzed what Belka Car today is. And we are a technological platform which brings together people and technologies. Our task was to help people resolve various transportation problems related to mobility based on our experience and technologies. Currently, we have about 1,500,000 verified users. 200,000 drivers use car sharing Belka Car every day. We process a lot of data, up to 30 petabytes. It's really a lot, even if you don't know what it stands for. We have been working for more than 5 years. We have gained experience in providing services to people in the area of mobility and transportation. Based on such assets, we developed the strategy of the company. Basically, there are two main pillars. Pillar number one, database solutions. It means that all our solutions are based on big data. We use them for our own platform and we monetize them. And the second pillar is new mobility solutions. I'm going to speak about new mobility solutions in more details a little bit later. The nucleus of our business will always be car sharing, but we add several new products to it. Belka testing technologies. Within the framework of Belka Test Tech, we give an opportunity to our partners to test and promote new solutions in the sphere of mobility, cars, and wheels, for example, to try something new. Another area is Belka segment, where we analyze and further use the data collected in our service. At the previous sessions, it was already mentioned that we started a subscription-based service. We also introduced Belka Subs together with Audi and Skoda Smart Drive, our partners. And in the nearest future, we plan that on the basis of our platform, we will launch other subscription-based services. And we have solutions which help us make subscription-based services. And Belka Lab is another area of focus. This is what we are launching today. Within the framework of this project, we give an opportunity to our employees to do MVPs, to offer new solutions, new ideas, to implement it inside of the company and try to scale it up. It gives an opportunity to them to change the area of focus, and we are planning to go international with the above-mentioned areas of focus. Let's now speak about car sharing. We start new geographies this year. Our main focus is on partnership. We do it not only by our own efforts, we do it with partners in different regions of Russia. We actively work to optimize costs. And as I have already mentioned, Belka Laboratory is something we are planning to do internationally. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Loriana. It's really, really great to see that you're optimistic about the market. One more expert has joined us. Dear friends, Dmitry Chayko has joined us. He's the founder of Whoosh service. Dmitry, hello. So 30,000 gig scooters are available. You have several millions of active users. You cover 17 regions of Russia. And as far as I understand, the pandemic's took a big part of your income pie, right? Just like it was with car sharing. The discussion is ongoing if electric kick scooters are safe or not. People are talking about various limitations, and it's not a story about Moscow only. There is a boom related to electric kick scooters, so there are some questions related to it. What do you think about the future of it? What infrastructure is needed? What amendments should be made to the legislation to make sure that the service is popular, safe, and can be scaled up not only in large cities but also in small ones? So what can you say about it? Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'm happy that I have an opportunity to tell you more about Whoosh service. First and foremost, I would like to answer your question about safety. At the previous session, we already talked about it. Electric kick scooters are something that people give the name to, and it can be everything: scooters for children, kick scooters, electric scooters, but they are different and they have different characteristics and they are built for different purposes. I decided to make a presentation today related to regulations and what can have an impact on further promotion and development of such services. All right, so I have a thesis. Electric kick scooter is a part of transportation infrastructure. We see that in all the cities where we are present, we have three types of drives. When people use short distance travels just to go from point A to point B, and there are entertainment drives when people go to parks just to enjoy. And 68% of drives in Moscow account for transportation drives. In some cities, it's even 80%. To make sure that electric kick scooters work as members of the transportation system, it's necessary to have a kick scooter nearby. And it's necessary to have corresponding regulation. The experience of Moscow is unique. Moscow is a leader in terms of the regulation. The policy of Moscow is aimed at the support and development of electric kick scooters. We are thankful to the Moscow city. Moscow introduces a really well-reasoned regulation. Moscow has calculated how many electric kick scooters are required in the nearest future, and it came up with the requirements for kick scooters. Moscow started to invest into parkings in 2014, and Moscow is the only place in Russia where the parkings for bikes are available. There are more than 3,000 of them. Moscow develops infrastructure. We have 62 kilometers of bike lanes. And they were built this year, and colleagues say that 100 kilometers more will be introduced till the end of this year. The speed is amazing. Right, so we invest our own money, we attract investment, and there is no doubt that it's important for us to build a transparent dialogue with the city. The city should understand what we are doing, and we should understand where the city is going to. It's a mutually beneficial dialogue. We bring profit to the city, and we can give a lot to the city, not only the service, which decreases the congestion on the streets, but also all the data we can provide the city with. That's why it's important for us to develop a constructive dialogue. In addition to that, rules are important, and rules should work for all the regions at the federal level. There is a proposal from the Ministry of Transportation of Russia, which we believe is reasonable. It regulates what an electric e-scooter is, what maximum speed it can have in the city. I hope that such changes in the traffic rules will be introduced, and only then we will be able to have an active dialogue with all the members, because now we have cases when cities try to over-regulate the segment. They say it should be safe, but it shouldn't be too slow at the same time. Of course, if the electric kick scooter drives 25 kilometers per hour, the average speed is actually 17, because you have to stop in some places. There are some obstacles you have to bypass, and if the city starts to say the maximum speed should be no more 15 kilometers per hour, then the story is not really working, because if the maximum speed is 15 kilometers per hour, then the average will be 7 kilometers per hour. No one wants to pay for the speed that you can have if you simply walk, if it doesn't give you any value at all. Another important thing here is that to develop the services, means of transportation, it's necessary to distribute the passenger flows. Of course, it's all for the sake of safety. Car drivers, scooter drivers, bike drivers, and pedestrians. And again, Moscow is such a city where a lot of infrastructure is built. You have the already existing roads where they put, on top of it, they put the bike lanes and the sidewalks. Another thing we support is that in a number of regions there's no infrastructure at all. In Moscow there are a lot of parking lots, for example, but in other places we have virtual parkings. There's no place to leave your electric scooter. You just put it there on the street. So to improve the order, not to have any chaos, we need to receive permissions, and we need to have corresponding markings on the floor. So in some cities we put marks on the floor, and then electric scooters can stop and park where cars do it. Thank you. I see that my time is up. Thank you. About 1 minute is left till the end of our session. If you allow me, I would like to ask a short question to all of you. Could you please give me a short answer? Dmitry, your mic is on, so please tell me, how do you plan to fight against the problem of electric scooters which are just left on the street? So with Whoosh you cannot leave your scooter anywhere you like. Well, sometimes a problem can happen if there's something wrong with GPS in the city where there's a lot of construction going on. GPS signal is not really good. We do some technological improvements that will allow us to have more precise positioning of the scooter. We try to demonstrate people how to park correctly. I told you about the marking in the parking lots, and that will help you to improve the order. And now, social advertisement. Together with other operators and cities of Russia, we try to give role models when we show what to do properly. And there's no culture about it. People just don't know that they can drive on scooters together. If you're drunk, you shouldn't drive. It's also not safe to drive there with kids. We do social advertisement, and it's one of the ways to improve the safety. Loriana, I have a question to you about electric transportation. What share of electric transportation do you expect to see in the nearest 5 years? Do you think that electric cars will replace regular cars? I'm the owner of an electric car, and I hope that the number will be high. But we depend on two factors: city infrastructure, which appears, but it's not so well developed as in other European cities, and the cost of electric cars. It was already mentioned that starting with the next year, we will have the duty fee, and electric cars become more expensive. So there's driving force needed for the owners of cars and for the owners of business. I believe that now only there's a trend in premium cars only, like Porsche, Audi, and so on. But we are a company which check the situation 6 times per year. We test all the cars, and we are really waiting for that. All right, dear colleagues, 30 seconds are left. One more question to you. The share of subscription-based sharing and public sharing after 5 years. Well, I believe that it's hard for me to comment on subscription, but as for public sharing, it will be 2 or 3%. It's a niche service which is aimed at a group of people, but of course we would like to increase this group of people. Thank you. We spoke about various sharing platforms. Today we discussed how it can help the city decongest the streets and improve the mobility. Thank you very much, and goodbye.